Hey, welcome to a glimpse into the moment. I'm so glad you decided to show up today. Powerful things happen when we show up. Today, I am going to talk about a long awaited conversation around financial abuse. Ugh, God, I've held off on this one. I suppose because it was such an emotional control. It was is one of the final controls that the ex maintained through separating and filing for divorce. And even now, we are 2 years since we separated, and oh gosh, 16 months, 14 months from filing from divorce, maybe longer, definitely longer. Hmm. Um, but holy heck, you know, right now my mind is thinking of something super funny, and so I'm going to say it out loud because you guys will laugh. My followers will laugh. But I have a feeling the ex is listening. And so fair warning, if you choose to listen to this, it is going to piss you off. If you are an abusive person, this is going to piss you off. If you, no nice way to say it, controlled everything about the money, this is going to piss you off. There was a moment in separating, that sweet spot, I'm now referring to it. And it was about a 3-week period right after telling our kids that we had separated, where my ex continually gave me the verbal okay to use XYZ money or XYZ money or XYZ money, these different pots of money, right? I mean, everybody knows that you have retirement accounts, you have maybe a line of credit, you maybe have savings accounts or credit cards, but you have access to money. Especially when you've been married for 3 decades, there's not massive, multi-millions of dollars in assets or anything, but there's definitely some access to funds. And during that sweet spot, when I finally got the courage to separate, I remember him telling me all of these things. Well, you're gonna get everything in court because you're a stay-at-home mom and you're a really good stay-at-home mom, and so you're gonna get everything in court, and I'm gonna not have anything. I mean, he was real stammery and frustrated and scared, and I just remember being super overwhelmed at that moment. I had the courage to say we were separating. This was going to stop. I wanted a divorce. I wanted to separate. But I did not say out loud at any moment that I had the courage to go file for divorce. I didn't know how to do it. I was terrified of it, positively terrified of it. And during that sweet spot, probably when he was trying to really woo me back, the love bombing was pretty hard. And so the blocking was pretty hard on my end, right? To block the phone number, block the social media, block the texts, silence everything. But he offered two different ways that I could pay for a divorce. And hindsight is just so gorgeous. It's like the most beautiful, clear, crystal waters from a mountain geyser. And real life looks more like, mud in an irrigated cow pasture. Needless to say, I missed the sweet spot. And when I missed the sweet spot, meaning I didn't show up with paperwork to file for divorce and to divide assets and financial arrangements, child custody arrangements, all of those complexities. When I didn't show up with that, it gave him time to seed back into narcissistic tendencies and begin his attack. Because if you've ever been loved by a narcissist, and remember, I've got 5 decades of experience in this, you will know that when a narcissist doesn't get there, little Freudian slip there, when they don't get their needs met, they try a different tactic. And they try a different tactic. And they try a different tactic. Hence the cycle with love bombing and all the other evil little toys in their basket to control us, to gaslight us into thinking we're crazy. And that is the road that when I missed the sweet spot, I decided to take. It wasn't intentional. I just didn't know. I didn't have the strength. I didn't have the courage. It had taken me months to get to the point of coming to a conversation, both of us, after a week of, highs and lows, being woke up at all hours of the night, being woke up with him standing over me 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a night. Are you asleep? Are you asleep? Are you asleep? Yeah, I fucking was. Get the fuck out. Fucking freaking me out. Him telling me he was going to kill himself. I mean, the methods, sleep deprivation, fear, the methods of control that went into that time frame in my life literally just about stole my sanity. I had made my new friend, John, well, he's not new anymore, but then he was a new friend, and we visited through that. I actually met him through soccer, and I quickly let him know what was going on because my life was pretty chaotic. And he grounded me. He gave me advice. He listened. He sat with me in uncomfortable spaces so that I could just cry. And he continually asked me, when are you going to let go? When are you going to let go? When are you going to try to stop controlling? And I really couldn't get it. I could not understand what he was saying because I just didn't have the tools in my bucket. I had only known those 5 years of 5 decades. Making myself really young right now. That's a hell of a lot of self-love right there. Those 5 decades of living in the shadows of narcissistic personalities was all I knew. My coping mechanisms were not there to be stronger. I had a lot more work to do. And in doing that work, it would take me until, I filed for divorce in September of 2019. So several months later before I actually filed for divorce. And then the lockdown went on him. The minute that he got served, he went from being volatile to hateful. And accounts just disappeared away. Stuff that I never in a million years expected to happen. Right? I mean, I know this person, but suddenly this person turned into a secretive, asset hiding, asset hoarding, asset denying. There were weeks that I didn't have enough money to buy milk or gas or turning in pop bottles to make sure that I can get the basics for my kids. And that fucker lived here. He wouldn't move out. He moved back in. It really became, to be honest, from my perspective, for him it became a game. How evil, how awful, how terrible can I make her life so that she will take me back? So that we can just go back to normal, to where I, as a narcissistic man, am comfortable. Can we just go back to that? And had I opened that door once, from the many invitations to open it, I would be right back in that cycle of abuse right now. Financial abuse, the control, the hiding, the manipulation, the withholding money to scare you into thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to feed our kids? My kids never went hungry. Never, never, never went hungry. But we went without some new clothes. We went without fixing a car that was the only source of transportation that I had for my kids. He waited on court for everything. And of course, we all know COVID hit in March of 2020. So what do you think happened to those court dates? Gone. That's what happened to those court dates. Rescheduled, rescheduled, rescheduled again, and rescheduled. The trial, the divorce trial, bumped, 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 and bumped one more time. We're in 2021 and it still hasn't happened. So you can imagine how difficult and frustrating it was with the finances. He deemed what myself and 4 kids needed to survive. He paid the bills that he deemed he would pay for this household. And that was it. Weird, right? I know. Holy hell. People, their egos, their insecurities, their fears. Oh, yeah. Pause. Stay with me. Stick around. Come back on the other side of the break. Let's talk some more about this. Welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate it. Our initial court date was to set temporary custody, living arrangements, and I believe that it was to set financial support too. The financial support got broken out because both sides were not ready to take that in front of the judge. Isn't it sad that these decisions needed to go to a judge? Really, I mean, honestly, we should have been able to mediate that out, but he stormed out of the mediation. He wasn't about to concede that I had the right to divorce him. I am chattel property. Yeah, I know. In that first court date, though, the judge did sign a custody agreement giving me over 60% of the time with the kids. I'm their primary caregiver in the primary home, and it did require him to move out. The difficult thing was, though, the judge didn't sign that order for about 3 or 4 months. So while he moved out in March of 2019 into a trailer in the driveway, suddenly he moved back in. And he moved in August. Forest fires around here are terrible, the smoke. The kids asked if he could sleep inside for one night, and I said yes, and suddenly he's living back in here, and I can't evict him. I can't get him to leave. Ethically, he wouldn't do it. That's not really even the right way to say it. He just wouldn't do it. He didn't care. He was going to bully me into living here, into me taking him back, into me being wrong. It became a matter of right versus wrong. So when the judge finally did sign that first order months later, he moved out that night without even saying goodbye to the kids. He just left. It was the weirdest thing for all of us. And I'll never forget that night because the kids and I had, for some reason, I had gone and bought a bunch of ice cream, and I believe it was grades. We celebrate grades, and it was the end of a term or the end of school, somewhere around that time frame. And they had done well, and so we had an ice cream party that night, and it just happened to fall on the same night that he moved out. It was the strangest thing. The atmosphere was suddenly laughing and lighter, right? The financial problems were still there. There was still no order from the judge. There was the original divorce order that the judge had signed saying nothing could really change. But the ex deemed what I would or would not have access to. That was a sickening moment. It really was. I felt so vile. I felt violated. I felt worthless, useless, disgusting. Everything that I could feel as a woman and a homemaker was magnified by 1,000,000 in that time frame. It was horrid. Horrid. We tried to get back into court multiple times to set a financial arrangement, and we just couldn't do it just because of COVID court. Sometime around August of 2020, we ended up back in for, well, let me back up. We did end up in front of the judge in April and set a temporary financial agreement. And the very next day, I lost my job by text. By text. Who does that? I'll tell you who does that. A person that I had known and had been a friend of for 18 years. And that's what they thought of me. Fired me by text. Laid me off. But here it is, almost a year later, and I'm still actually over a year later and never texted again. So since we had a temporary financial agreement based on a job that I lost due to COVID, we had to go back. We had to put a stop on that. And so, of course, the judge hadn't signed it. It hadn't actually taken effect for us anyway, because, of course, the narcissistic ex is not going to action anything if the judge hasn't signed it. Yeah, I know. So we end up back in court sometime in August, September, and an agreement was reached in October in court. But with any good agreement, what's going to happen? They're going to contest it. And contest it they did. And actually what happened, now that I think about it, the judge set the amount. We sent in all of our paperwork in June-ish. And August, the judge came back with a dollar amount and the bills that I would be responsible for. And it was higher than we were asking for. To be honest, it was higher than we were asking for, and it put me just at minimum wage income. And with what I was doing, with my other income that I have. And my ex makes good money. He makes really good money. He's a software developer. He does just fine. And so I'm thinking, oh, shoo, I can catch up these extra bills. I can buy clothes for the kids. We have graduation coming up. I need to buy cap and gown, school fees, blah, 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 blah. Right? Well, wrong. Because what do you think? What do you think happened next? Do you hear the kind of cranky bitterness in my voice? They contested it. They, being the ex and his attorney, contested it and contested it and contested it and contested it. We ended up back in front of the judge. Now, mind you, these hearings that we're going to now are the lawyers and the judge on a teleconference, I believe a video teleconference. And then myself, my attorney, because the court never would actually called me to get in. So my attorney would call me on her cell phone and put it on speaker so I could listen to what was happening. And we get there in front of, it's our turn, and they contest it. And my attorney says her stuff and they say their stuff. And, the judge is adamant that my ruling isn't going to change. It isn't going to change. And they contest it 2 more times for these tiny, minute details that we had agreed to when, like, way back in June. It's just control. It's control, it's manipulation, it's mind games. So many mind games to try and belittle you and humiliate you into, quote unquote, your place in the marriage. Stupid. Disgusting. And all along, all amidst this, kids know what's happening. One parent has all kinds of fucking money. One parent's getting all the government refunds and not sharing it with the other parent. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. Even if you don't say it out loud to your kids, they know stuff is happening. So you're a vile fool. A vile, vile fool. If for any reason you think that your kids aren't seeing the stupid fuckery that you're doing. Stupid. It ends up being December because we went to court October. November was rescheduled, I believe. So we end up there in December. Woohoo, yay for Christmas. We're going to court for finances that were settled way back in August. And the agreement was that the payments would begin in, I'm trying to think, October. The payments were supposed to start in October. And they didn't. And here we are in December. And the judge again says, my ruling stands. I'm glad you guys got it all figured out, because the two lawyers say, oh, it's all figured out. We figured it out. And the judge says, fine, somebody type it up. I'll sign it. We get all the way around the horn into 2021. And I'll be fucking damned if that still had not been settled. And I got super ill with my PTSD, my asthma. My lawyer was out on COVID things. So there's this life gets in the way of these processes, right? Our trial got bumped. We were supposed to go to trial in January. That got bumped for COVID. We were supposed to go to divorce trial in March. That got bumped. It got bumped to May and then June, and now it's September, and with a hearing in June. Anyhow, I happened to get a hold of my attorney long about February, and I'm like, you know what? I still don't have this money. And you've been sick and I've been sick, so I have kind of dropped the ball on getting a hold of you, but I don't know what to do. Like, is the judge ever going to sign this? So she looks into it. Essentially, the judge's clerk was like, holy hell, that hasn't been signed? How is that even possible? Well, it's possible because of COVID court. COVID court sucks. COVID court has no checks and balances. It's completely up in the air and at the whim of whoever COVID court gets run by. Stupid. COVID court sucks. But they signed it the same day, even though the other attorney and the ex contested it again to my attorney, and I don't know if they put something in front of the judge. They said they were going to. I don't know if they did or not. Regardless, the judge signed it. And then, guess what? They said, we're not going to pay it. We're not going to pay it. But at that point, I had a signed judgment from a judge giving me monetary rights back to October of 2020. So all I needed to do with that was file a judgment. So the notice went to them that if we don't have you paying this money and the back money in full by Monday, Tuesday of next week, just going to put a garnishment on your wages. Just going to put that judgment, attach it to your wages. So you decide. And that was a key moment for me. That was a key moment where I had gone through so much therapy and I had grown so much that I was able to hold him accountable. I could not have done that. I couldn't do it when I separated, or when I filed, right? I missed the sweet spot way back there when I separated, and I couldn't do it when I filed in 2019. I could not be assertive and stand on a foundation of cement because I was drowning in quicksand. The years of narcissistic people-pleasing, living in the shadows of those narcissistic, dominating, always right, controlling personalities had honestly destroyed me. And it took a year plus of therapy to get me to a point where I was strong enough and confident enough to hold him accountable. So, rolling forward a few days, he did pay it. He paid it begrudgingly. And only one of my kids asked about it and wanted specifics, and I told him specifics, and he was like, holy shit. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's pretty lame, right? So my point is that a narcissist or an abusive man or woman will do anything within their means to control, manipulate, and keep you where you are. Never underestimate. Never believe they're going to do the right thing. Because their moral compass, their ethical grounding is not the same as you, and you've known that all along. I knew it for 3 decades. I knew it into my childhood. But I couldn't do anything about it because I didn't have the tools. Stick around, come back after the break, and we will have a little bit more conversation about financial abuse. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around and joining me. Financial abuse by a spouse, by a narcissist, by an abuser, by just a selfish, myopic person. It's a disgusting thing. You feel so incredibly debilitated without your own access to money. I was a homemaker for, my goodness, 17 years. I quit my career and started raising our children. And I did that because one of our twins, our twin boys, our firstborn, was born still. I had planned to work from home. I had an amazing career and job and company that I worked for, and they offered to set me up to work from home. Pretty amazing, right? I know. But when Noah died, I couldn't imagine working, and we were financially sound enough that I didn't have to. What I never was prepared for was that it was before that too. It was always our money and I had to ask for permission, and it was just kind of ingrained in me. My mom used to get so mad about it and I just didn't understand. It was just normal. But what I didn't ever consider or think about when I decided to be a stay-at-home mom is that I was giving up all access to the ability to immediately leave and be safe. When I realized and confronted to myself that I was in an abusive marriage, and that would have been in early 2018, and finally confronted him in fall of 2018, late summer, fall of 2018, and he went into a rage. And from August 2018 to March 2019, that time frame, we had a child with a severe concussion, life-altering concussion, and I knew I had a go bag packed, and I would began getting a little bit of cash out here and there. I was advised to do that by multiple doctors, that family doctors, like I told my pediatrician, and really just any person that I could trust and loop into the abuse that was happening in our home and get advice, get resources. I began to do so in those confidential spaces, and over and over and over, unanimously, what they kept saying was, start getting cash back. Start putting some money away. Have a tiny little nest egg so if you have to go in the middle of the night, you can go. And I began doing that. I never really got much money. I think it was maybe a couple $100 by the time that we got separated next March, the following March. again, it was just, there's just no self-confidence in me. I had no worth, no self-confidence. I was like terrified, paralyzed. It's hard to imagine now. Once you start walking that path through your own darkness, through the evils that are just trying to kill you, destroy you, suffocate you, you begin to see light. You begin to see yourself. When my SUV died, it kept having issues. And he was living here at that time. And the SUV was probably 8 years old to us, but it was a old SUV, maybe a 2000 or a 2002. And we bought it used. We had it for 7, 8, 9 years. I don't know how long. And it was kind of on its last leg, but it started having more and more and more and more issues. And I was literally learning how to fix this car. He lived here and he would not help fix the car. He wouldn't do home repairs. He did nothing. He wouldn't even clean or help the boys clean the area that he lived in. He lived here to punish, and that was it. When I was driving home and that car finally broke down, I got on our road and I called. It was kind of later. It was like 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. And I called my neighbor, and lovely, lovely, amazing neighbors, and they're probably in their 70s. And he came down and he picked my kids and I up. And I think we might have had a dog with us. We were coming home from the park. And we got up to the house and we dropped the kids off. And then he took me back down to their house, and I went in and had coffee with him and his wife and talked and got advice and, just sat in the company of people who loved me and could see the goodness in me and could see how unfair and unjust the situation was. And they could just sit there and let me exist without demanding anything of me, without punishing me that I wasn't doing enough. And that was an amazing gift from my neighbors. Later that week, it might have been right before that. I think it was right before that. That same neighbor, one of the dogs, a giant white Great Pyrenees, he broke the seatbelt in my car in the front seat, and so I had to replace the seat and in the front, and I got one from a junkyard and got it home, and I was just so proud of myself for doing all of this by myself, right? But I can't replace it. I don't have the right tools. You need some kind of much more equipment than I had acquired in my small amount of things that I was doing on that car. And my neighbor, I called him up, probably in a bit of a panic, and he said, "Don't worry, just come down on whatever day, Saturday or Sunday at this time, and we'll work on it together." And so he and I are sitting down, he and I are working on it, standing outside of his garage. And I kid you not, this man is 7 days something, it's winter, it's cold, it's off and on sprinkling or snowing. It's cold weather. And at least I remember it being cold. I'm always cold though. But it was definitely that time of year. And I kid you not, my ex walks by their house with our daughter on a walk. But my neighbor and I looked at each other and there was nothing we could say. Because who on earth would walk by while the mother of their children is trying to fix a vehicle that hauls all of the children around? He wasn't about to give me money to fix it. He wasn't about to help fix it. He wasn't about to help me get a different car. It was, fuck you, Nita. I don't have to say it to you because I am going to lock you out of all access to money. I'm going to make you feel like it's not your money. You don't have the right to use it. And by that time, he had squirreled it all away and God knows where, and still God knows where, because he hasn't provided any of the required documentation for us to get divorced to the attorney. He hasn't. He provided one go around and it was missing, I don't, like 10 account statements. So like, we can see that they exist. Where's the documentation? That's financial abuse. That is holding me hostage, not allowing me to divorce you. And it's disgusting. And that happens to people, to men, to women, all the time. All the time. And we're in such a state of lack of self-worth or confusion that we just accept it. We accept it. We don't know any different. It is our normal. Stealing money, they don't call it stealing, but they are stealing money. I won't go into the details because I have children and it would impact them greatly. But holding somebody accountable, we had a dog get hit by a car. Many of you, if you follow my story, you know that. And she's doing amazing. She had multiple surgeries. She has lots of metal pins in her one giant plate. And she gets around pretty well. I mean, she gets around really well. But when she got hit by a car, it was all hands on deck. We just could not have another tragedy strike our daughter. I decided we could not have another tragedy strike our daughter. And she'd already lost her dog just months before. And it was just too much. I wasn't going to allow it. And when the vet at the emergency place said, this dog can make it, but it's going to cost a lot of money for these surgeries. These are really intense surgeries. I spent an entire weekend literally calling all up and down the coast to see if there were alternatives, calling all the vets in my area. And everybody, there was one place that would take her, and it was a little bit cheaper. It was a couple $1,000s cheaper, but it was 3 hours up the road, and I would have to go up there multiple times a week. So I'm going to eat up the $2,000 in gas and time and hotel visits in no time at all. So I opted for the local surgery. And nobody else would take it who could keep her at her quality of life. There was one vet who said, I can amputate her leg. I'll do one, probably 2 more surgeries on her, and I cannot even come close to guaranteeing you that she'll live. If you can get the extra money, you need to take her to this place because she will live. She will live, and she will have a better quality of life. But if you can't come up with the extra $4,000, then I will do it, and I'll do my best. Well, I wasn't about to take that chance. So this family jumped in, and our community gave, and we did fundraisers. Oh my gosh, the stuff that we did. And we came pretty close to the goal. We raised about close to $8,000. And we worked hard. This family worked hard. We never gave up. And then I pulled some debt on the last 2. He wouldn't. He wouldn't at all. He was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I'm like, we've come this far, and you're not willing to help me. I didn't know if I could even get approved because I didn't have a job that was primarily mine, or that I had my own income. Anyhow, I was able to get a Close the Gap funding loan, and I did it. And it was the right thing to do. During that time frame, though, a lot of that money that came in through him, like I literally had to threaten taking him to the police to get the fucking money. And I had a very detailed accounting system of all of the money, where it was coming from him. And he continually had to have me slap his hand, beat him over the head with text, and just say, nope, I have it here. This is exactly blah, 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 blah. If you're not going to give me that money, I will call the police and I will charge you with fraud. Give me the fucking money. That is financial abuse. He didn't want to steal that money. He didn't want to keep that money, but he wanted control over me, over this family, over not the situation, because he didn't want to be in charge of the dog. But he wanted to manipulate it to the point that it failed. It's disgusting. There's a million of those stories over the course of 3 decades. I mean, honestly, there's too many of them. And you would think that at some point I would have woken up and I would have questioned it and I would have learned. But I didn't, because I'm a good person who does what she's supposed to do, who does what she's told, who does what she got married to do, to serve and please and show up and to stay married. Until the rage became too much. Stick around. I'll see you guys on the other side of the break, and we will close out for today. Pretty powerful topic, though, huh? See you in a moment. Welcome back. Quick shout out to my passion, my absolute joy. What's up? WATZUP, and all the hard work that my team and I are doing over there to normalize mental health conversations, partnering with A Glimpse into the Moment, partnering with Team Sharudo, sponsoring segments like this. So proud to have that company on board and to be working with them and having started that with my friend and business partner, John Dale. Go check him out. WATZUP.com. So what do you think about financial abuse? Do you think it exists? Do you think it doesn't exist? Any form of control that somebody can exert over you to make you comply, to make you stay, to make you unsafe. Any kind of control that is unwanted, unwarranted. There are a lot of people who do not believe that it exists, but then there are those of us who lived it, who know that it does. It's a weird thing. It is a really, really weird thing. The hate, the resentment, the anger. And for a long time, both ways. Until I got a lot of work under my belt in therapy, a lot of healing done, a lot of growing done. I had overwhelming fear, paralyzing anger. No, that's not true. I only have had real anger 3 times through this 2-year process. 3. And righteous anger moves us, and I've had that 3 times, and it has been powerful because it actioned me to a next level of healing, to a next level of filing, to a next level of accountability in court. But I did have resentment, major resentment in me, major confusion. I just felt so confused and violated. Right back to the beginning. Confused and violated. Reach out to the National Domestic Abuse Hotline. If you do a quick Google search, you can find and access a lot of solid research work on financial abuse and on abuse in general. If you know somebody who is in this kind of a situation, or if you yourself are in this kind of a situation, there is help available. I have since learned there is even assistance for women in emergency money to be given for domestic abuse, and if you have to leave for safety reasons, there are lots of entities that can house you, and there is money available to you. So honestly, don't stay where you're not valued. Don't stay where you are chattel property. Do not stay because you think you have to, because you think you have no options, because you think that you have no value or no worth. It just takes a glimmer, just an absolute glimmer that you are worth more to leave. And you will. And as if walking on a lake that's freezing under your feet, a path forward will emerge. A path forward will emerge. And you will find a way. And you're never alone. I really appreciate you guys tuning in to this conversation about financial abuse. This took a really long time for me to get to the point where I could talk about it. I tried several times, but I was too raw and in the moment of it. Hell, just a week ago, I had massive text blow-ups from him and his anger over having to pay me what the judgment is saying. Honestly, what on earth? What on earth? I think one of the things that I struggle with too, and I'm going to throw this in there before I end, it's really hard for me to watch, to hear, to see. It's less hard now, but it's still hard that, he shops at the best stores and he buys groceries only from the most expensive grocery store. And he buys them a few clothes, but not many clothes. And he doesn't... It's just no nice way to say it. He never liked that I saved money the way I save money. Shopping where you can get a lot more food, a lot more clothing, a lot more bang for your buck. And he is doing just the opposite of that now. And that makes me mad, because then why are you complaining about what you have to pay to us? You have 4 children. Step it up. Fuck off. If you want to go spend an extra $100 on your grocery bill, that's your problem. I really don't care. I really, really don't even want to hear about it. I don't want to. That's on you, because there are cheaper places that you could shop for pretty much everything that you're doing. And I'll be quite honest, there is no need to ever give children over $100 gift for Easter for one child when they've already had a complete visit from the Easter Bunny at the house that they woke up at on Easter. You cannot buy your children's love. You cannot buy the ability to be seen through gifts of money or gifts of acting on financial stuff. You are still a transparent, narcissistic fool, no matter what. And time will prove that. I don't have to prove it at all. All I have to do is show up consistently, being me, being the amazing person that I am. and I need to let it go. All right, my friends. I am learning, I am growing, I am healing, and I am loving my journey. I am looking forward to increasing, pumping up the consistency with you guys. I am looking forward to having some guests come on with me. And I am so proud of you. You're amazing. I hope that one day you will reach out to me, that you will let me know how you're doing, who you are. You'll introduce yourself and you'll say, "Hi, your podcast made a difference." And I am thankful that you are on your journey. This is me talking to you now. My podcast started out to allow me to heal. And somewhere along the way, I started getting just enough messages to know that they were helping other people heal too. And that's a good thing, because we're all in this together. We are all in this together. All right, everybody, have an amazing and safe, awesome, spectacular day. Be powerful in whatever you do, and reach out for help anytime that you need help. Have a great day, great afternoon, great morning. Bye, everyone.